Hey guys, we're here for part 3. I'm waiting as usual in the car. And I got my trusty notebook here. So I'll probably be looking off to the side here a lot. So getting better with the camera. So, we talked about step 2 last time and step 1 in the other video. And, just going back to the simple thing is healing. It's all about healing. And it's not about a 12-step meeting. It's about you getting healed because Jesus wants to set you free. He died on the cross. And if by his stripes we are healed, if we deny the fact that Jesus did that, then everything he did, that's just kind of spitting in his face. Like, hey man, you didn't do that for us. And that's not the case. So let's move on to step 3. And that is, we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. That's fabulous. If it's Jesus, you're rocking and rolling, you're on your way. But if you have not made that connection yet on step 3, because when you're going through the steps, you're not doing this alone either. You're also doing it with a sponsor. Well, a sponsor is somebody who's gone through the program too. You kind of see how it's kind of like a pyramid thing where you get somebody and you get somebody and then you're going to pass it down, because part of the big thing with AA is works. So now you're spending your time mentoring somebody and going through the steps too, which you may not even be to that. You may even not be healed. And you're taking somebody through when you don't know all the steps yourself. And I don't mean that you don't know how to read the steps and maybe you have not gone through them, but I'm talking about healing wise. So that kind of comes back to, when you're in church and things like that, you have what we call accountability partners. In AA, it says it's okay to have somebody of the opposite sex. That's not okay. And the reason for it is because some of the issues and things that you're having, sex is involved. And also when it comes to spirits, that stuff can get morphed. Did you know the divorce rate is like 50% higher in people in AA? Why? Because there's all these different components and rules and things that they're allowed to do. You don't talk about, you don't talk about sex. In the big book, it says, we don't talk about sex because everybody has sex problems, right? Really? I mean, it doesn't matter if you're male or female. When it comes to drugs and alcohol, sex is usually a pretty big component of things that are happening that shouldn't be. So, the whole point in this is to get you healed. It's really not about bashing people in AA. Please, understand that. It's about healing you and saving you and pulling you out of something, because you don't need 12 steps. You need Jesus. Jesus is the answer. So if we're saying that, okay, that's step 3. Okay, so we got step 3. Now step 4. You make a searching and fearless inventory of our lives. Well, you're doing that. And you're taking into account, and that's basically listing out all of the wrongs. What have I done to people? I mean, that could take a very long time. But here's the problem. And this is also what happens when you go back into AA. You wind up, everything is self. It's all about me. Your recovery is about you, but it's about healing. And the big problem that I always had, and I remember asking the Lord a long time ago, I was like, it just doesn't feel right. AA isolates you because they want you to focus on you, which in retrospect, that sounds really good. Like, separate yourself so you're not doing drugs around people. You're focusing on you, but that's not how you do it. When my husband went to, I guess you would say one of his first, well, not his first, it was his, his second. Okay, no, it was his first. Sorry. I'm going through my mind. So it was his first actual rehab. Because the first time he went into sober living, and yeah, that's a whole story. I'll tell you maybe one day. But my second son, he was newborn. He was born in November. My husband went in, and in December, we spent Christmas at a rehab with him on Christmas, and then had to leave. And I just remember thinking, I didn't know any better at the time. Like, this is horrible. You're separated. You're living with a bunch of men. Now, granted, it was a Christian place, but still, You're separated with all these people, and none of you guys are healed. And everybody's throwing stuff back. I mean, just like jail, you find more connections in these places than you do anything else. Because you're really not getting what you need. I mean, it's just, let's put you through school and you learn this and you learn that. And, these are the ways. But again, like, you're just not healed. So I never got that, just the isolation, because, you go to rehab, and then you go to sober living, and this costs all money, this stuff is big business, and then you're separated from your family. And so I just remember struggling so much, because it was like, how am I going to afford this? How am I going to afford that? And I have 2 kids at home, and then I'm a married single parent. It just never made sense to me. And I've never really shared my story with people, so this is new. So you'll probably get bits and pieces, but we're going to keep going. So, again, the program wants you to focus on you, which makes sense. They want you to focus in on your issue. But you're so focused on just a symptom of your actual issue. And that's another problem. Again, Jesus wants to heal you. So now that you've made a searching and fearless inventory of your life, and you've written it all down, you're going to, get my little notes here. You're writing it down because you're wanting to share it with the sponsor, because they're going to have you put it in, certain categories, and you're going to go through it. But at no point in time during this process are you giving it to Holy Spirit. Are you asking Holy Spirit? See, in inner healing, when we do sessions, you sit down and you have Holy Spirit guide, because it's not about the person or the counselor doing it. It's about the person and healing their spirit. It's not about, doing this step and doing that, because here's the thing is, you can write and you can sit down and you can talk about something all day long. The lie that time heals all wounds, that's not true at all. If you don't get to the root of your problem, it's never going to be taken care of. Just think about a dentist when they're fixing their teeth. Are you going to go in and kind of like, oh, I just need to clean the outside. Oh, I got a good cleaning. Well, my tooth still hurts. Well, I'm going to kind of like, let's do something with your gums. Well, my tooth still hurts. Well, maybe we're going to, maybe kind of poke around over here. Tooth still hurts. What happens? You have to get to the root of the problem, because otherwise it will continue to come back. Because drugs and alcohol were not your problem. Those were just your coping mechanisms. That's just what you use to hide the pain, anything and everything that you're doing to numb yourself. And the problem with AA is you are so focused on your problem. This is your problem. You're so focused on that you're not actually addressing the problem. That's just a symptom. And what happens when you just medicate the symptoms? Well, you're still sick. So again, when you're searching and you're making a searching and fearless inventory, and the later step, we'll get to that, where you just continuously do that all the time. You're stuck in a cycle. I used, okay, and then let's say, cheated on my wife. Okay, I feel bad, and this is my moral inventory, and I'm not going to do this again. This is my resolution. This is what I talked to my sponsor about. And then like 2 weeks later, you relapse. You go out and do it again. Well, I got to make a fearless inventory. You're stuck in a cycle. Like, writing this down is great. 2-way journaling, we'll talk about that with the Lord. Get the answers from Him, because He's going to tell you how to heal. Not telling your sponsor. Now, we'll get to the next steps, because we are going to talk about that. It's not horrible to tell another person, and in fact, the Bible tells you to do that. We're running out of time, so I'm going to have to make another video. But, again, Jesus is the answer to your healing with your addiction. Until the next video.